Hello and welcome to the Peach video case study. I'm Dave Will. I'm the Chief Executive Peach at Peach Media. And I have with me today our friend and Peach client, Amy Plent, Director of CLE with North Carolina Bar Association. Amy, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me, Dave.
Of course. The topic today, Amy, as you know, is the future of e-learning. And I know you have a rather sophisticated CLE program, and a lot of revenue comes from delivering online CLE. So tell me, in your experience, and you really are an expert in this space, tell me about how e-learning has evolved in CLE specifically for you.
Wow. Well, e-learning in CLE started really about 11 years ago. So if you look at where we were then, in terms of the first states starting to allow for what was then called computer-based learning, and where we are now with e-learning and online learning in particular being the dominant way that a lot of people get their education, it's just been an amazing revolution in a really short period of time.
So tell me, what was it like 11 years ago in terms of e-learning? That's about the Peach started 13 years ago, and we weren't quite involved in CLE at the time. So tell me, what was the world like in CLE when it comes to e-learning, and then how is it different today?
I think back then the idea that people would use their computer as a way to take educational courses was that just in and of itself was a game changer. And you were talking about a small group of very tech-savvy people who might use an online learning tool as a way to get a few extra hours, or maybe to cover some course material that they needed to right before the deadline, or look at something in a new topic. But it certainly wasn't the dominant way that people were learning. And now, if you look at today, you really have a whole new generation of learners who expect that that's the way they're going to do most of their learning and keep up with their professional development over the course of their career. And they expect more sophisticated options from us. They expect better quality from us. They expect more instructional design to go into the learning that they're consuming. And they expect to be able to do all of their mandatory continuing legal ed in an online format. They might come to a live course every once in a while, but
So that's interesting. I hear you saying that the industry has been influenced by people's experiences outside of the industry. So here we are, and people are now streaming shows from Hulu or Netflix, rather than watching the traditional network TV as much as they used to, and that those expectations are now transferring into delivering CLE online. It's not quite the same as delivering the cassettes and the VHS tapes that you'd ship out or maybe rent out or sell directly 10, 15, 20 years ago.
I think that's exactly right. It's true in terms of what's expected as far as the quality, the production quality of the learning. It's true in terms of whether or not people expect a certain processing speed, certain sophistication in terms of their ability to interact with the material. It's just the production values of what we are doing need to change because the expectations of our users are being framed by a world in which they're increasingly interacting with video online, not just in their business lives, but as you mentioned, in their personal lives. And it's a native way of communicating and interacting with information for our new generation of learners, and that's different, and we're going to need to respond to that.
So you mentioned the generations. Tell me, and I'm throwing in a sneak question here, one I didn't tell you about, but tell me what's your experience in working with different generations? Is the stereotype true in your opinion that the older generation is a little slower to respond to technology than the younger generation?
I don't know if it's slower to respond is the right way to put it, but definitely they respond in a different way. Where I think the way I think of it is the difference between somebody who's speaking a second language and somebody who is native in a given language. I think the newest attorneys that we're working with in CLE today and will for the next 20, 30, 40 years are native speakers when it comes to online technologies and online learning technologies, whereas up until now we've been dealing with people who were adopting a new way of learning, but this was their second learning language, so to speak.
Yeah, I think I read, it might have been Jeff Cobb from Tagoras. It might have been an article in a blog, but I heard somewhere recently that we're running into the first generation of people that were born when the internet was really thriving. So you're right that people, it's a point where instead of being adopted, it's something that people are used to and something they grew up with. So Amy, tell me, two more questions. Tell me what challenges NCBA is facing with e-learning today.
I think that the challenges we're facing are, first of all, the challenge of sort of meeting the needs of two different generations of learners, continuing to deliver the live education and the sort of traditional online education that we've been delivering for our existing base of very seasoned practitioners, and then also delivering a whole new kind of courses that are going to meet the needs of this newer generation of learners, courses that are going to have a lot more interactive elements to them, possibly depending on what happens with regulations, self-paced or asynchronous courses, courses that allow people to kind of branch their learning and focus on the areas where they need to spend more time with the material rather than something that's very real time. Right now, most online CLEs are a sort of a single cut of a live program or a previously recorded program where you're watching one thing in real time. I think we're going to go to a place where we're going to do branched learning, and someone's going to focus on the areas where they need more coverage of the material and maybe skip over some of the stuff where they're really solid. And that's going to be a whole new game.
So you're demonstrating why I referred to NCBA as a sophisticated e-learning organization. What you're doing is segmenting your audience and delivering different e-learning experiences for each audience. So well done. Amy, tell me, the last question. This is kind of pie in the sky. I'm setting you up for failure right now because it's almost impossible to answer this correctly, I think. But tell me, what's e-learning look like in 5 years from now? What's the future of e-learning hold for us? And by the way, I'm going to be taking notes here.
I think e-learning in 5 years is going to be a lot more pervasive than it is even now, and it's pretty pervasive now. I think it's going to be a lot more assessment based than it is now. I think we're going to see a shift toward getting the learner to tell us a little bit more at the beginning of the learning process about what it is they need from us, so that as we have this sort of ever expanding collection of, sorry, my glasses are falling down, of learning options, we're able to help people navigate that more effectively. So you have a catalog that's got, a few thousand courses in it, rather than asking someone to browse through all of that material and try to find the most relevant, most meaningful things for them. I think we're going to see a shift toward doing front-end assessments that will allow someone to get a sense of where they are against a competency model and which courses would make the most sense to take in order to get to the next place they need to be.
So learner paths, the development of learner paths. Excellent. Amy Plent, Director of CLE, North Carolina Bar Association, thank you so much for the past several minutes. Thank you for joining us for the future of e-learning in this Peach video case study. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks, Dave. Bye-bye.